What if you can actually do too much personal development? What I'm about to share with you in this video probably been one of the biggest insights or breakthroughs I've had over the past few years. And it's the recognition that you can do too much of anything. You can have too much exercise, you can overeat food, and you can definitely do too much personal development. Around 18 months ago, my Facebook account was hacked, so to speak. And so therefore I was not able to get into the account. Now, it was a blessing in disguise because at that time I was going through a really mentally challenging period, which is probably really the start of a bit of an awakening for me. I don't think at that point I even knew what an awakening was, but it was definitely the start of one. Well, I was really starting to question everything, and it was creating conflicts at home. I was having arguments with Sati. And at one point, Sati was like going to the gym, and I was getting jealous about her talking to a personal trainer, which she was just being Sati and just being friendly as she always is and as she always does now. But my self-worth and my self-esteem was so low, I was in a really dark place. And not being able to go on social media was a real blessing in disguise because at that time I was just so unconscious in my thoughts, in my behaviors, in my just being, that all I could do is just, because my connection with myself and my connection with Sati felt so out of alignment, I just found myself going onto social media, desperately looking for connection and for some kind of validation and appraisal. And I kind of guess that's probably where a lot of people end up, relationships break down or they have an affair and all this kind of stuff. And we were never at that point. We were never that point, but things definitely weren't good. And interestingly, me being off social media, what happened is I started to think about what do I need to do. And I remember one day I went for a drive and I'd been kind of toiling with the idea of going back to church, but I didn't have the courage to do it. And a friend of mine, Maxine, is a pastor, and I'd asked her to pray for me. I was in a dark place. And one day I went for a drive, and I just drove like not far from my house, and I just sat in this estate. I know exactly where it is. It's not far from where we live. And I just like spoke out loud to God, kind of like, hey, whoever's listening, I need some guidance. I need some advice. I need to know what to do next. And anytime I've ever done that, I've always had some really good, something good comes back, right? So I'm not going to say to you it was like the next day, but I think it might have actually been the next day that Sati and I went to the gym together, and I was like playing on my phone. When I'm distracted, I play on my phone. And I was playing on the phone in between sets in the gym. And I don't know why, because I'd played with this idea before of doing coaching for men. And I came up with this concept for coaching for men, and it hadn't worked because ultimately I was the one that needed the coaching. And so because of that thought about coaching men, I decided to start looking for like men's groups, because I knew that concept existed, and I knew I didn't need coaching per se. I just needed a space. And I've missed an element in the timeline. A few weeks before that, I'd started having some therapy, and I'd found that really helpful because I was talking. But it didn't feel like it was shifting as such in a way that I thought it would. So I started looking, I was searching. One of the good things I found is if you're feeling lost, but you start to search, as long as you have the kind of awareness to recognize that when you're in a period of frustration or despair or just an emotionally challenging period, when you realize that you're in it, when you become aware that you're in it, you become aware that, well, there's only one way to go, and that's up. At least that's how I've kind of always viewed it whenever I've had challenging times. So anyway, I joined this men's group, and I just got addicted to it. I started to go 3, 4, 5 times a week, and I was just talking. And like within weeks, me and Sati were closer. One of the things that came out of the group was, for me anyway, was an awareness that I was too in my feminine energy, because my mum was very masculine. She was a single parent. So because my mum was very masculine, to balance her out and balance our relationship out, I had to become the feminine little boy, right? So as an adult, I became very feminine. And obviously that was negatively impacted. So I'd attracted a lot of women that were masculine, that were basically reincarnations of my mum. And then I met Sati, who wasn't the reincarnation of my mum. But then she became a reincarnation of my mum over time. So when the relationship could have broke down, for some reason, God, in her infinite wisdom, decided to give Sati patience, and Sati stuck around when she really probably shouldn't have. But she did. And she became very masculine. I became very feminine. And that's where the relationship started to kind of break down. And we were heading probably down the same road that many of our other relationships went down. But when I joined the men's group, it started me just spending time with men. It's like my masculine energy. If I had like a feminine kind of like graph and a masculine graph, my masculine graph was like down here and my feminine graph was up here. And it was like, it started to just go, and my feminine started to go down and my masculine started to go up. And when me and Sati first got together, she had this beautiful way of like resting her head on my chest, because she was like, she felt safe. And she didn't do that for years, like 6-7 years. And she used to like come in under my chest and hug me, and like as a sense for safety, right? She didn't do it for years. And then all of a sudden she started doing it again. And I was aware of it, and it was beautiful. And then our intimacy started like going to another level. And then we found out we're pregnant with Zen. And when I say the rest is history, what I mean is our relationship now with 2 children is probably better than it's ever been. And I know Sati would say the same, because she said it yesterday. So it's not like I'm just saying a thing. But really fundamentally, what made the biggest difference for me was going dark. Being off social media, being in the men's group, because what that did is and going back to the original point about you can do too much personal development, too much of any input and information in without processing it and putting it out can be really bad for your psychology and for your sense of self. So like years ago, I used to be really like, I would listen to so much personal development. I would listen to different speakers, but I would listen to different speakers like at the same time. So I'd like, not like literally, but like I'd have Tony Robbins on for an hour in the morning, for like an hour. Then I'd have Wayne Dyer on for an hour. Then I'd have Les Brown on for an hour. Then I'd be Eckhart Tolle for an hour. Then it'd be Grant Cardone for an hour. Then it'd be Gary Vaynerchuk. Like 4, 5, 6 hours of personal development a day. And it like sent me in like a tailspin where I just was I had like really bad inner conflict. And ultimately it's because I had such conflicting ideology, because these mentors were saying the opposite shit. And probably the worst thing about it is some of them were really masculine, alpha, get shit done, excuse my French. And the others were like, just be. Like Grant Cardone and Tony Robbins are like, come on, like massive action. And Eckhart Tolle and Wayne Dyer are like, just let it flow, man. So it was like, I've got like motivational speaker and a Buddha trying to have this like inner debate inside my head. So when I came off Facebook and when I joined this men's group, I made the decision, when I started to find my voice, as the men's group allowed me to do, I made the decision, you know what, I'm not going to do any learning for a while. I'd have friends that are personal development friends that would send me stuff. Hey, you should listen to this podcast. Hey, you should listen to check this video out. And I would like go, thanks. And I would just ignore it. And I had a period for about 9-10 months where I like didn't do any personal development. Like last year, no personal development. All I did was like men's groups 3, 4, 5 times a week. And it was brilliant. What it actually did, it actually kind of had a little bit of a detrimental effect in the sense that I was then so unmotivated and I became so feeling orientated that it almost went a little bit too extreme and went too the other way, which is why I say you can have too much of anything. But the point being is that I think everybody needs time where they go offline and listen to their own intuitive inner voice. For me, the best thing I've found for that is meditation. Hands down, meditation. One of the types of meditation that I really swear by is a heart coherence meditation, because it's really about getting the heart and the brain aligned. You may have seen me talk about this in a video before, but when the heart and the brain are out of alignment, it's like that whole concept of like the Tony Robbins, the Buddha and the motivational speaker having a battle, right? But when the brain and the heart are in alignment, when your heart rate is at a variable level where it's like in a nice kind of swoopy effect, your decision making's better. Like what I would do is I'd do like a heart coherence meditation for like 10 minutes. And then at the end of the heart coherence meditation, I would journal whatever came up. So like at the moment, I've just launched a new webinar, and I've got uncertainty around it because it's brand new. So I've done like a heart math on it to kind of get, well, what does my intuition say? And my intuition basically says, trust the process. You've done this kind of thing before. You've made webinars work before. Trust the process. You know what you provide. You know you've got a great product. You know it provides really good value. You know you've got really good Google reviews. Trust the process. So I finish a meditation, I journal, and that's what the heart and my intuition says. So it's like, okay, cool. And then I just move on with the day, and then fear comes in again, and I do another heart coherence meditation. Anytime I have any sense of fear or worry, that's what I go to. What I used to go to was, I better text my mentor and see what they say. And what that does, or I'd better listen to a motivational video and see what they say. Now, I'm not diminishing mentors. Like, I am a mentor and I have mentoring. But sometimes going to the mentor or getting the external voice or hearing another opinion too soon is like putting a ladder against a wall and realizing that you've got it against the wrong wall, or climbing the mountain of success and realizing you climbed the wrong bloody mountain. Like, Tony Robbins says, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And so I definitely have climbed some mountains that on reflection I probably wouldn't have climbed. Something I came out in a meditation for me this morning or last night I think. And I said it to Sati because it came out really strong in this meditation. I wrote down, what if I fall in love with myself so much that it is to the detriment of all my relationships with anyone around me? That's what came out. And that part of me, and then it reminded me of something I heard the other day on YouTube, which was, would you rather be miserable and have everybody in your life love and adore you, but you're miserable? Or would you rather have people dislike you, but you feel so happy and content and peaceful in yourself? I know what I'd take. And I think the only way to truly get there is to spend time knowing yourself, but realizing that you never really ever will know yourself. But the way to ensure that you are moving further away from knowing yourself is if you spend too much time downloading information, other people's opinions, WhatsApp messages, social media scrolling, feeds, too much information at the expense of listening to the voice within. Too much personal development, not enough meditation. Because otherwise you won't hear the voice inside of you. And that, I think, is a crying shame. To go your whole life, maybe perhaps living your life according to what other people think you should say and do and act, which a lot of people do, right? My mum said I should be a doctor, so I'm a doctor. Sati became a primary school teacher because her sister said it would be a good idea. And only now is she questioning that decision. Nothing wrong with the decision. She enjoyed being a teacher. She's amazing at it. But she says herself, she didn't decide to be a teacher. She just went with what her sister said. I fell into the fitness industry because my mum was in the fitness industry. I got into life coaching because I heard Tony Robbins once and thought that sounds like that's a good idea. So unless we start to question our thinking, and the only way that we can do that is if we create the space, like Wayne Dyer says, a song wouldn't be a song without the space in between the notes. So if you don't create space in between your notes, then all you're going to get is this do, which is like a metaphor for going through life unconscious without really knowing if what you're going for is what you really, really, really want. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed today. As always, love to hear your thoughts. Have a beautiful rest of the day. God bless. See you soon. Take care.